Hey, how's it going?
Good, Dean. How are you?
Doing well. Just trying to prop this camera up.
Yeah, me too.
I'll just probably move my chair back, to be honest with you. Yeah,
So what? It asks you when I'm done, I guess. You said
what'd you say?
it asks to record when you're done. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So it says like, do you want to save this video? And then you click
Cool.
yes. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so NFL season has finally creeped upon us. I'm having Dean Seidman from Code Green Show. Go check him out on Instagram. He's below me. He's come to talk on who we think are going to make the playoffs. You know, like surprise teams, disappointment teams. We expect just the general basis. Kind of wrote some stuff down, and I wanted to get your thoughts as well as give my thoughts. So I guess we could take it division by division just to start. We could start with our home team, home team's division, uh, the NFC East. I assume I know who you think's going to win the NFC East, but just a broad summary, how do you think the NFC East is going to turn out this year?
I think the NFC East is going to come down to the Cowboys and Eagles like always. I feel like the Cowboys definitely revamped their offense through the draft, acquiring CeeDee Lamb. I also think they have a really good O-line, and Zeke is one of the best backs in the league. They did lose Byron Jones on defense, so they might be a little weak in their secondary. And I feel like the Eagles can do really well, but we've had some damage done to our offensive line. And the secondary has a lot of new faces, or a few new faces, rather. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Rager play. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the Eagles and Cowboys, but I feel like the Eagles edge out the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree with you too, and I think the issue with the Eagles is now the obviously the injuries. It's what's been the past few years. Obviously, a ton of injuries at the beginning of the season. Already to start, already Carson has been banged up a little bit, and a lot of important players, obviously on the offensive line, like you were saying. So I think we'll have better speed at receiver. Or the Eagles, mind you, Cowboys obviously, like you said, are going to struggle on defense a little bit more, especially in their secondary. Like you said, Byron Jones is gone, and I just think the Cowboys are pretty much an 8-8 team like they've been the past couple of years. I don't see they didn't address what they needed to in the draft. They addressed another wide receiver, which sure that'll help Dak, but I think we've seen Dak with enough help that he can carry a team to a division victory, but I just don't see it. I think the Eagles, they're like you just said, the injuries are a big problem. I think they could have won 11 or 12 games this year, but I think the winners division is going to win 9, 10 games. I think it's going to be hard fought. Even though the back of this division isn't as strong, I agree with you in the end. The Eagles over Cowboys. Um, I think let's see. Let's go next. The NFC South. I There's a lot of people high on the Bucks this year. I think that's the main story coming out of that division. But I still have the Saints winning the division this year. But as for playoffs, I think it may be different. I think the Bucks will have the advantage, obviously with the new Tom Brady, and their offense is totally revamped. They have a nice new young defense that is unproven but has talent to begin with. But I think it's going to take the Bucks a little bit of time. No OTAs. They couldn't, they didn't have enough time to work with each other as much as they could have, especially with a 45-year-old quarterback. I still think the Saints are still a viable team. I think they're going to win this division, but it's going to be tough for them potentially in the playoffs as they've, three straight years got knocked out, having a tough time getting over that hump. So I would take the Saints to win the division probably by a game, but in the playoffs, in the end, I think the Bucks may eventually go further.
Yeah, I really like those thoughts. I feel like we all might be surprised as NFL fans to see how the NFC South pans out. I feel like it might be the most competitive division in the league this year. Kind of a bold statement, but here's why. Panthers no longer have Cam Newton. They're going with Teddy Bridgewater, who's actually from an NFC South rival, the Saints. He was a backup who shined when he had his opportunities. Now he finally gets a starting gig, and he could take over, the Panthers' offense. They do have guys like DJ Moore and arguably the league's best player in Christian McCaffrey. I really look forward to seeing what the Panthers do. Luke Kuechly did leave, so that's going to be a huge loss on defense. Panthers are a team to watch for sure. As far as like the top dogs, I'm going to have to go with the Saints or the Buccaneers, just because they're the two most loaded teams in that division. Not to undermine the Falcons or the Panthers, but I just feel like the Saints and the Buccaneers have the firepower to definitely win the division. And if I had to pick between the two, I'm going to have to give the Saints the edge just because they have the chemistry built and they have more time playing with each other. I know you had mentioned the Bucks didn't have too much time with OTAs, and might take a little bit for them to gel. So I'm going with the Saints winning the NFC South because of Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and Marshawn Lattimore.
Now, where do you fall on the Bucks? Like I said, how they may not win the division, but I think they'll potentially go farther than the Saints in the playoffs this year.
Sure. I mean, I could see them definitely sneaking into the wild card, as well as a team we're going to talk about a little later, the Seahawks. So.
Yeah, the NFC's loaded. That's the whole thing with all these teams. Obviously there's an extra playoff seed in each division or in each conference, but there's still gonna be one or two good teams from the NFC at least that are gonna miss out, probably winning 9, potentially 8 or 9 games. So we agree so far. So yeah, we'll hit. How about the NFC North? This is always a interesting division. We've a lot of speculation from the Packers with Jordan Love, how they drafted him this year, and how allegedly he hasn't looked good at practice
Yes.
the past couple of weeks. So Aaron Rodgers looking better than he did maybe a month or two ago. Vikings always going to be up there. They lost Stephon Diggs. Bears are starting Trubisky week 1. Who knows how long that will last? Nick Foles is right behind them, and the Lions are the Lions. I'm not trying to make fun of them, but they're kind of the laughing stock of that division because they haven't had consistency. So who do you think is going to come out of that division this year?
For me, it's a little bit of a toss-up between the Vikings and the Packers. I feel like the Bears with Trubisky aren't really going anywhere, and they're kind of just a pretty overall weak team, in my opinion. I feel like the only bright spot of their team is maybe defensively with Khalil Mack. Then you mentioned the Detroit Lions, who have never really had success. They're kind of the laughing stock of that division. Maybe Matthew Stafford could string some wins together. Still not good enough to win that division. And then we talk about the Packers and the Vikings. Vikings are missing Diggs, which is definitely going to be a blow, but they also have one of the league's best rushers in Dalvin Cook. And I think Christian Kirk and Adam Thielen are enough to handle for defenses. And then if we look at the Packers, you have arguably the best quarterback with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, one of the league's best wide receivers, a pretty decent running back committee over there, a good O-line, and an improved defense from years past, in my opinion. But just because of experience, I'm going to go with the head-to-head between Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, and I'd take him 10 times out of 10.
What about primetime? How about primetime? Was it 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10?
Yeah, you might be right about the prime time. But yeah, I'd take Rodgers over Cousins.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. But I think the Vikings are still. I mean, they're one of the most complete teams in football. We totally forget their defense is always stacked.
They are.
Like I said, the NFC is extremely deep, and that might be a potential team that might miss out on the playoffs, even with this extra playoff seed. And like I said, they may have one of the most overall talented rosters in the entire league, so it's interesting. But I agree with you, Packers. I think they'll win the division. I have them winning probably 10 games, which is less. They won 13 last year. I think they were maybe not much of a 13 win team as you might think. Once they faced San Francisco, they got exposed essentially.
Right.
So I don't think they're going to win nearly as much games in the regular season, and I think time's running out for the Packers, especially for Aaron Rodgers. Even though he is still one of the league's maybe at least top 10 quarterbacks, maybe top 5. The NFC is only getting better. It's like I just said, so it's going to be interesting. But I think the Packers will come out too.
Agreed.
So we agree on the 4 division winners. Now, do you have like your 3 wild card teams who you think are going to come out as well?
So as far as the wild cards, we didn't really mention the NFC West too much, but as far as the wild card, I could definitely see.
Oh yeah, sorry. I didn't even say that. My bad. Let's go over that first.
Yeah, let's pick up that. That's fine.
Yeah. So the NFC West, obviously, this might be the most loaded division. Period. I almost totally forgot that. So a couple years ago, the Rams won the Super Bowl, and they're typically an afterthought at this point. Now that Kyler Murray is emerging now has DeAndre Hopkins to throw to. The 49ers obviously coming off his NFC champions. And Russell Wilson's still there. No matter how talented that team is, how many players they lose, Russell Wilson's, arguably one or two in the quarterback rankings right now. So, uh, in my opinion, I think it's an extremely close race, and I think I'd have to take 49ers over Seahawks, but it's by a game. I think the Seahawks are going to be uh, a team to look for to come out of the NFC this year, not because of their depth, because they really don't have a lot of depth. I think they signing Josh Gordon back. I'm pretty sure. Or
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
trying,
Josh Gordon is re-signed with them.
yeah. So that's a key piece because Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, another year. This receiving core is, I think, going to become, if Josh Gordon can slide in as even a third option, I think that's going to be huge for them.
That's a good
Um,
for him.
yeah, I think that's going to help out. But as for the 49ers, I think they're still up there. Their defense, I think they lost. I forget who they lost on defense. I think they lost like one or two pieces, but for the most part, they're still pretty much together. They have their quarterback obviously locked up, Jimmy Garoppolo. Their run game is still elite. I think that the 49ers have not they may not come out of the NFC this year. I think they may have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover once it comes to playoff time. But as for the regular season, I think they have a deep enough roster to win at least 10, 11 games in that division. Even though it is a tough division, we didn't even talk about the Cardinals. But I'll leave it for you who you think is going to win that division as well.
So the NFC West is definitely going to be like, sort of kind of comparable um, to who are we talking about? West, North. Yeah, I think we were talking about the North. I think we were talking about the North being super competitive. I feel like the NFC West could definitely be as competitive, if not more.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the three quarterbacks in Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like those three quarterbacks are very competitive in the division. And then if you look at the talent, the way it's spread out, I feel like each of those three teams has their star players. So I think it's going to be a very, very close race. I have the 49ers repeating, winning that division. I don't think they'll win the NFC and go to the Super Bowl this year. I agree with you on that one. And I think Seattle and the Arizona Cardinals will compete for a wild card spot because DeAndre Hopkins can definitely turn some heads. I feel like he was not a lot, but he was a huge help to Deshaun Watson, and I think he'll be the same type of help to Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so funny. They're an emerging team. Kyler Murray is obviously one of the top projected fantasy quarterbacks, so it's interesting to see. He's got a lot of more weapons to throw to this year, and I mean their defense isn't obviously is their weak point, which is going to probably be their downfall essentially. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think you're right that it's going to be between the Cardinals and the Seahawks for a playoff spot out of that division. So we agreed on all four division winners for the NFC. Now who would you take for the three wild card teams?
The three wild card teams, I would have to probably say Seattle, and then I would say the Cardinals sneak in there,
Okay.
and then either Vikings or Dallas.
Oh, really? Here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you wanted to say them, but a team you were missing out of that was the Bucks. You didn't say them,
Okay.
so
Yeah. So
I,
unless
I
the
don't know if
Bucks,
you're forgetting.
yeah.
What?
So the Bucks, unless they win their division, um, I would see it pretty hard for them to make the wild card.
Pretty hard for them to make the wild card.
Yeah, just because of tiebreaker and stuff.
Okay, so
If it came down to it, I don't know. I feel like Seattle and Cardinals might leverage them.
yeah, I think my argument against that would be, well, let me see. At first, I was with you with Seattle. I have Seattle as one of my playoff teams. Then I do have the Bucks as probably the first wild card team, just because I think their offense is too talented. I think just overall, and I think Seattle and the Cardinals. Well, I do think Seattle will make the playoffs. I think that division is going to be so competitive that one team I think is going to get left out of there. I don't think it's going to be three teams coming out of one division. I think the NFC is too loaded for that. So I would say Bucks, Seahawks, and then my last team, I think I have the Vikings just in over the Cowboys. And I just, we joke about Kirk Cousins, or it's kind of joke. Kirk Cousins is kind of a meme in the NFL, but I think I I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's a little bit of Cowboys bias to not wanting to put them in the playoffs, but I just don't see I just don't see the Cowboys coming up at the end of the year like they haven't in the last few years. We've seen it. We watched it on primetime television. I would trust Kirk Cousins over Dak right now. And I know it sounds crazy, but in a must-win game going to the playoffs, I think I want Kirk Cousins over Dak. And it might be crazy, but
I would
that's
agree.
my opinion.
I would agree. Yeah, so yeah, good argument that you made back. Unless the Buccaneers win their division, sure they can make a wild card, but it's going to depend on the records of the Seahawks and the Cardinals, and then we were talking about the Cowboys and the Vikings. So those four teams plus the Buccaneers are all kind of like in the same tier, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, unless they're winning the division, like I don't know, it's kind of tough for me to say. But I would say Buccaneers over Cowboys and Vikings over Cowboys.
So you changed your pick then because you said Cowboys in the playoffs at first.
Okay, yeah, then Cowboys would not make it, and it would be the Vikings because you made a very good argument, and I would take Kirk over Dak any day as well.
It's not. I don't know. I don't even want to know if I want to say if it's any day, but I've just seen too many times where Dak is not a bad quarterback. He's not like a bottom five quarterback, but I have not seen Dak be even a top five quarterback with the weapons he has. I've seen Kirk Cousins throw for 400 yards in a big game against the Eagles, just last year. I think I would, like I said, I would take Kirk in a big game over Dak right now. Right now. So yeah, we agreed that for the most part, except for like one or two teams in the NFC. So the AFC is kind of a little more out of place because I don't know. There's two teams at the top. We obviously know Ravens, Chiefs for the most part, but then there's a lot of other teams that we kind of just don't know. But this is a lot of new quarterbacks and different teams, especially in the AFC. So we can go through that. Uh,
So I
so
think we could both agree that like the Ravens are going to win the North, right? Just to get that out of
yeah,
the way.
yeah. I think the
Okay.
Ravens are going to win the North. I think it's going to be a competitive division, but we'll get to that in a minute. I do agree with the Ravens winning their division. Correct. So well, let's just start with that division. So I think the Ravens are going to win the most games out of
By a
any team
landslide.
by a landslide. How many games do you think they'll win?
I think they'll go 12.
That's what I wrote down. 12. I think they could win 13. I think they're just that talented. They're too deep. They have a lot.
I
Obviously
mean,
they
they
did
lose Earl
lose.
Thomas, but they're still so good.
They lost Earl Thomas, but Earl Thomas wasn't the best. He was one of the top defensive players on Seattle. He was. I think he was. He's not. He doesn't mean as much to the Ravens as he did to Seattle. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, we agree with Ravens. As for the rest of that division, Bengals. We'll see with Joe Burrow. I mean, they don't have enough on the team anyway. I don't believe they compete with that division. I think there's too many good defensive players in that division, especially. I think that might be the best defensive division in football.
What's going on, Ryan?
I what's that? Oh, that's funny. So I like the Steelers this year. I don't know about you. I like the Steelers over the Browns. I don't trust Baker. I can't yet. I haven't seen it. I think he's talented. I think he was a top pick for a reason. I don't think he should have been number one pick. But I like the Steelers bounce back here. I really like Chase Claypool, the wide receiver that they got from Notre Dame. I think that's going to be a big help because they always draft. I mean, the Steelers, they always draft wide receivers well. But
They do.
yeah, I would take Steelers over Bengals in that division, not to win it, but I think playoff wise, I'm not sold on the Browns yet. I'm just not, even with the abundance of weapons that they have.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with the AFC North. I feel like we should move on to the AFC East with the Patriots. I'll give you my initial thoughts on that division. I feel like the Patriots are definitely more competitive with Cam. I mean, losing somebody, with the caliber of Brady is definitely like a hard pill to swallow and a hard player to lose. But
Yeah,
getting somebody like Cam Newton, who has shown that he could bring his team to a Super Bowl, do decently well in a regular season, and do well in a scheme at times, I feel like he gets a fresh start in New England, and maybe Belichick could actually utilize all the great characteristics about his game. Um, and then you look at the rest of that division. It is kind of a drop off, but I'd have to say the Bills. They're definitely one of my underdog teams for this year. So if I had to like debate between the Patriots and the Bills, I would give the Bills the upper hand just because they finally have a true number one in Stephon Diggs, and the rest of the division after that just falls down to me. I really don't think the other two bottom teams have a chance, and it's pretty much a deadlock with the Patriots and Bills.
Yeah, and the Dolphins are, I think, on the rise. I think they're moving in the right direction. I think they're starting Fitzpatrick week 1, but they got Tua waiting. I think give them a year, at least half the year to watch. But yeah, I agree. The Dolphins at the bottom. I think the Jets could be so much. I mean, I do feel bad for Darnold. I mean, he really doesn't have any help. They lost Robbie Anderson, their best receiver, for a couple $1 million. So he
Yeah,
doesn't
and
have
they
much.
lost one of the best players in the league on defense. So I
Yeah,
personally think the Jets have made so many bad decisions. And I was talking to my friend who's a Jets fan yesterday, and just like you get rid of arguably one of your best players on offense, one of your best players on defense, and I don't really know how you expect to compete this year in a rather tough division. I feel like the Bills got better. So did the Dolphins. You guys stayed the same, or if you got
They got worse.
they
They
got
got worse. They didn't get better. That's the thing. Everyone at least got better, or they all the teams got better in the division. I think even though the Dolphins allegedly they may be at the bottom, I think they still got better. They have a path. The Jets don't seem to have a path. It's a shame because I think Sam Darnold has a ton of talent. But aside from that, yeah, we still haven't disagreed. I do like the Bills barely over the Patriots, but
right.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots win the division.
I wouldn't either.
This is one where I mean I'm not as high on Cam as a lot of people probably are. I think he had one MVP year, and other than that, he's been a pretty average quarterback at best. He's been he's obviously a great athlete at one time probably still is 70% at least of what he is, and I think he can still be effective, especially with Belichick. But I think he's given too much credit. I think he like I said he his passing is his accuracy is just not. It's never been over, I think, 60% in his entire career. He's never thrown over 60%. I'm pretty sure, or it's been rare. So it's like I don't trust, especially in a throwing league, a passing league like this is. There's more passing than we've ever seen. I don't see them being too successful, but the division's not. It's not the most strong. It's not the strongest division. It never has been, especially since Belichick and Brady have led it for 20 years. So they'll have a chance, but I do agree with you on the Bills from coming out of that division. Okay, so this is where we might disagree. So the AFC South, that's kind of always
That's
a
a
weird
tough division.
It's always a weird division. Now we can get out of the way that Jacksonville Jaguars probably the worst team in football allegedly, so we'll
For
keep them
sure.
out.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
keep
put
them
them at
out.
the bottom.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, you could go with any of the teams. So I'd like to hear who you have coming out of that division first.
So as far as that division, I like the Titans. Texans aren't too bad. And then not really sure how I feel about the other team.
The Indianapolis Colts you're talking about.
Yeah, the Colts. Now with the Colts, they got Phillip Rivers and that's good enough. But if you look at what the Titans have done, and they just got Clowney yesterday, and they won the AFC last year, I don't know. I feel like we would all kind of be fools if we were to not say that the Titans would repeat. And I feel like the Texans aren't going to be as good without D-Hop. I really don't like what Bill O'Brien's doing over there. Maybe David Johnson has games, but that's about it now in Houston. But I think it's going to come down to the Titans and the Colts. And the Colts are pretty explosive, and they have a guy named Jonathan Taylor, a running back, who I think could be an absolute stud. So mark that down.
So.
Mark that down.
I hope so. He's on my fantasy squad, so I'm ready. But, yeah, so I agree with you in Houston. They're just another guy I feel bad for, Deshaun Watson. I mean, oh, my God.
Sure.
The
one of the league's best receivers to nothing, really.
Yeah, countless moves from his franchise that just don't make sense. But yeah, they're not really in the running. I don't think. I agree with you. It's between the Colts and Titans. Now, I would say Titans, but every year in the NFL we see that there's always 2 or 3 new playoff teams from each conference at least. So I think the Titans are going to take a little bit of a step back. I think being carried by Derrick Henry like they were last year, I think, while he's still going to be, I think, great, I think teams are going to start to figure him out a little more and try to test Ryan Tannehill, even though Ryan Tannehill proved that he's not, one of the league's worst quarterbacks, but he's not at the top tier. I think they'll take a little bit of a step back. While they won't be necessarily bad, I think they're going to be a little bit not exposed, but the run game's not going to be as effective as it was last year because not everyone's, now everyone's ready for it. It's Derrick Henry. We're ready for, 2,000-yard season potentially. So I don't think that's going to, or I was going to say, yeah. So I would take the Colts with Philip Rivers the first year. I think Philip Rivers has a better offensive line. He's got one of the best, obviously, in the AFC at least, in the Indianapolis Colts, as opposed to where he was before at the Chargers, and their line was just not. It didn't hold up at all. So I think offensive line's better. I think arguably he may not have his better weapons, but he's still got T.Y. Hilton, like you said, Jonathan Taylor. They got a couple of nice backs that they kind of use in and out. So that'll be interesting. And their defense is not bad either. So I will take the Colts coming out of this division, but I think the winner of the division may win 9 games. It's not the strongest division in football by any means. So, but we'll disagree there. I'll take Colts and you'll take Titans.
Sounds good. AFC West,
Yeah,
defensive champs. How are you feeling?
yeah. I mean, I think the Chiefs are going to win the division again, but I think there's a team right behind them that they need to watch for. But we may have a different opinion there. But so Chargers rookie quarterback. I'm not well. They have Tyrod Taylor is probably going to start, and they also have Justin Herbert. So I'm not really expecting a ton. Although Tyrod Taylor is not a bad player, so I don't really expect much from them. The Raiders. Man, they're just all over the place. I don't know. They have some good offensive players. They draft offense well, but Las Vegas first year. I'm not sure what to see. I'm not sure what to see out of them. I don't think they'll win their division. So it comes down to the Chiefs, and my team that I really like this year is the Broncos. I think Drew Lock I think he may be that next one to pop this year. I think they got him plenty of receivers. He's got Cortland Sutton in the second. I think it's second year or something like that.
Yeah, he's young.
Then they got Jerry Jeudy, they drafted, and KJ Hamler, 2 nice young receivers. They got Melvin Gordon, also with Philip Lindsay. They got a ton of weapons on offense, and Denver's always been known for their defense. So I think Denver's right up there with Kansas City, but I will take Kansas City to win the division again.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Dan. I think Chiefs repeat by a landslide, and I like the Broncos as well. I actually drafted their defense in fantasy because I truly believe that they could be a force this season. You have a healthy Bradley Chubb. You have one of the league's best edge rushers, in Von Miller. You revamped your secondary a little bit. I really like what I'm seeing out of them. And then offensively, adding Melvin Gordon is huge. I really didn't think that Philip Lindsay should have been the number 1 there. He's a pretty good player, but I feel like Melvin Gordon solidifies that running back group. And
Right.
then drafted 2 of the top rookies, in my opinion, in the draft, Jeudy and Hamler. And then you have Cortland Sutton, who I think is an emerging star in this league. And somebody who you didn't mention is Noah Fant. I think he's a very rising star, if that makes sense. I think as the
big tight end.
And he's fast. So I think he really surprised people this year. And I really don't like the Raiders, and I think the Chargers are going to really miss Derwin James this year.
Oh, yeah. Again, he seems to never stay healthy at this point. So yeah, we agree there. So do you think it's gonna be? So you think it's gonna be Chiefs landslide? I don't think it's gonna be Chiefs landslide. Honestly, I think Denver is coming this year. I think Kansas City's gonna have to play a first place schedule. It's gonna be a little tougher this year, but I mean, I will take Chiefs, but I don't think it's as far apart as you think.
If the Chiefs split with the Broncos, I would believe that probably. If they split, I'd be like, all right. But that's really the only team I could see that they don't sweep. I think they sweep the Chargers. I feel like they sweep the Raiders.
Yeah, I agree there because it's tough to go to Denver and win. It really is. So I agree there too.
Right.
And I think one more, right? We got through. We did go through all of them. Okay.
Yeah, we went through all of them. So
yeah.
What do you think in a Final Four? Do you want to do a Final Four for each conference?
Sure, we can do that. So let me go over real quick. So I took Ravens, Colts, Bills, Chiefs. and you had Ravens, Titans, Bills, Chiefs. So we're pretty much the same with opposed to one. And then the three, we didn't say the three playoff or the three wild card teams in the AFC. So I have it. It's I have four, and I don't know what to do with that. Hold on. All right, so I have Steelers. I really like the Steelers this year. I think people are sleeping on them. I like their defense is one of the young best in the entire league. So I have the Steelers potentially winning 10 games. Broncos, like I just said, I think they're going to make the playoffs as well. I think they may win potentially 9, potentially 10 games, and it's it's between probably the Patriots and the Browns for me. I have them both probably winning 9 games. If I had to take, I might have to take the Patriots over the Browns. And it's crazy to say, even though the Browns have probably a much more talent, they probably have 20 to 25 top players combined, and I'd still probably take the Patriots solely because of Belichick. And I know we haven't seen Belichick without Brady for a long time, but for a wild card spot over an inexperienced Browns team, I could see that. So I would probably have Steelers, Broncos, Patriots as my three.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I'm not sure like what the order would be, but I definitely see the Steelers making playoffs. They do have one of the best young defenses, like you were talking about. T.J. Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick are really scary to go up against. Plus Devin Bush, a lot of people forget. So Steelers definitely a scary defense. I was trying to get them in fantasy, was not able to. Had to settle for the Broncos, which I believe would be the second team in. I really like what Drew Lock is becoming, and he finally has weapons now and a really good pass rushing defense and a revamped secondary. And then I do agree with you with the Patriots and Browns. It's actually not a bad prediction at all, but I'm going to say that the Patriots sneak in just because it's the Patriots and the Browns are the Browns. And I'm going to keep
So
it that simple.
yeah, so I mean, we essentially agree there. I mean, and the Browns should make the playoffs. I mean, they really should. Their offense is pro. I
But
mean,
if they do
I
Brown
think
things, they won't make it.
yeah, I think like offensively wise, I think they have arguably probably the second best offensive player like core wise in football behind like Kansas City. They have so many weapons, but I'm not sure. Although I do like their coaches here better, Kevin Stefanski. I do like that better. So yeah, we can do like a final four to wrap this up. Trying to go through mine right now. So, or do you have yours already?
We could just alternate conferences if you want. Yeah, I kind of have them in my head.
Yeah, go ahead then.
So, no order. I'm just going to give you 4 teams that I think are going to be remaining in the NFC when the season ends. So, I have the 49ers, I have the Eagles, I have the Saints, and I have the Seahawks.
Okay, I agree with you on the 49ers. I agree with you on the Eagles. Where we disagree, I think, will be Saints Bucks. I do like the Bucks better for the postseason. I think the Saints have peaked. I think after this year, this may be the last time that they'll have a Super Bowl chance, and I don't think it will be great. So I will take the Bucks to go further than the Saints. And the fourth team, I would agree with you as well, Seattle. So we only disagree in one spot, and it's the Saints and the Bucks.
It's a really tricky division, man. You know,
Yeah,
not to say that I don't think the Bucks will go far. If they go far, it's because they just can't be beat. But if they don't
yeah,
make the playoffs, it's because they're a game or a hair off. The
yeah.
Saints are just really good.
Yeah, I do think the Saints are very talented, but I think a lot to do with what happened this offseason. And like I said, the past 3 years, the way they ended, I think they've peaked in the playoffs at least. Maybe not the regular season. I think they will win 10, 11 games. But yeah, so we agree on 3 out of the 4 NFC teams. Now for my AFC teams, I would say
Okay.
definitely Ravens and Chiefs. I think that's a given. Now, so wow, that's tough.
I just thought of mine on the fly.
Yeah, the rest. I'd probably say, oh man, that's tough. I might go Steelers. I think Steelers and Bills. I think that's what I would have. I'd take Ben over Philip Rivers. I think, and Broncos are a little too young. Patriots, not enough good players.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Patrick Mahomes definitely makes a deep playoff run once again. I feel like Lamar does as well. And then,
for the first time. This is gonna be the first time, so it's never happened. So we're kind of basing it off of what we think. We really
yeah,
haven't seen Lamar do much
yeah. So let's hope
in the
let's hope
playoffs.
Lamar could do something. So those are
Yeah,
my two: Chiefs, Ravens, and then I'm gonna go with the Steelers as my shocker team. I definitely agree with you. I'm on the same page, same boat as you. That defense could definitely carry them further than a lot of people think. And the
yeah,
offense is not bad at all. And you have a healthy Big Ben who says he's never felt healthier in his life and he's ready to win. And James Conner's pretty awesome too. Besides the point, it's really going to be a toss-up, but it's going to be between the Bills and the Titans, in my opinion. And for some reason, the Titans make it back again. So that's my final four. The Bears, are on the outside looking in, or the Bills are on the outside looking in.
yeah. It's gonna be between Josh Allen. What is this? Third year or is this his second year?
They're,
It'll be his third year. So this is gonna be an important year for him. He's alleged he may be the best quarterback in that division, and he needs to show it this year. That's gonna be what determines if they get to the Final Four or not. Because clearly we saw last year when they played Houston in the playoff game, he kind of struggled late,
he did.
and they ended up giving up a lead and losing that game. So that's gonna. But I will take the Bills to make it farther. So we disagree on I think two teams. Yeah. So um, I think you had the Saints and I had the Bucks, and then you had the Titans, and I had um, the Bills. So pretty even. I mean, the AFC is pretty. At least the top of the AFC is pretty set in stone for the most part. We think, with the exception of maybe one or two teams.
Yes.
But the NFC is all over the place. It's hard to tell what teams are gonna come out. But it's funny. I just wanted to, before we ended, I wanted to look at my wild card teams. And I wrote down like who just missed, and it's just funny because I have the Steelers, Broncos, Patriots all making it. Browns, Texans, Titans all missing it. What are those two groups of teams have not in common?
Mm,
Think broad.
a good quarterback.
That, but I would say even Cam is the Patriots quarterback, and Deshaun Watson is the quarterback for the Texans. What I
Maybe
would say
maybe
is
lack of weapons.
potentially, I agree with that too. My main reason is organization. We're talking Pittsburgh Steelers, Denver Broncos, and the New England Patriots. Three of the best franchises in the last 20 years at least of football. And then you're looking at the Browns, Texans, Titans. Yeah, it's enough said. That they have none of those three teams have a history of winning. So it's just it really does matter. Football is different than basketball in the fact that your organization really matters. You can't be a LeBron in Cleveland in football and win, but you can in basketball. It's just the franchises mean too much, and I just noticed that on the end because I think that's pretty important to have like a strong ownership and a strong management behind your team.
I agree. That was a good breakdown that you had there.
So yeah, so I think that's about it. I'm glad you hopped on with me for however long we did this for. Um, you want to tag anything and plug anything before we head out? Because I'm going to post this on YouTube either tonight or tomorrow.
Yes, if you guys would like to check out the Code Green Show, I'd really appreciate it. We're coming up on 2-year anniversary in November. I work really hard producing 24/7 Eagles news. I have a lot of really good sources, and I research a lot. I also do interviews, and I'm just trying to make it the best fan group possible. Um, keep doing what you're doing, Dan. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Dean. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So now